Roman Reigns has survived betrayals, family rebellions, and enemies from almost every corner of WWE. But what happens when Solo Sikoa stops fighting alone and recruits the one family whose reputation for violence could completely change the balance of power? If Haku really welcomes Solo into the MFTs, Roman isn't just facing another bloodline rebellion anymore. He's facing an army built to challenge his authority from the ground up. And there are 3 questions we need to answer. Why would Haku choose Solo? What happens when Roman realizes the MFTs are coming for him? And could this alliance finally destroy the bloodline for good? Stay with me, because the answers could completely change the next chapter of this story. Welcome back to the Ringside Observer, where we break down the biggest WWE stories, betrayals, rumors, and twists shaping the future of professional wrestling. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because this bloodline story is moving towards something much bigger. Let's start with Solo Sikoa. For months, Solo has been caught between 2 identities. On one side, he's a member of the Anoa'i family and someone who understands exactly what the bloodline represents. But on the other side, he's spent an enormous amount of time trying to establish himself as a leader rather than simply another soldier serving. Roman Reigns, and that difference is everything. Roman Reigns built his empire around one principle: everyone answers to the tribal chief. Solo eventually realized that if he wanted to challenge Roman, he couldn't do it with words alone. He needed numbers, he needed power, and most importantly, he needed people who weren't intimidated by Roman Reigns. That's where Haku and the MFTs potentially enter the picture. Haku isn't simply another legendary name being added to the story. His reputation carries enormous weight, and if Solo is able to secure Haku's support, along with the strength of Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa, suddenly this isn't just Solo Sikoa rebelling against Roman Reigns. It's the formation of an entirely different power structure. Imagine what that means. Roman has the bloodline, Solo has the MFTs, and now WWE has the ingredients for a faction war that could dominate SmackDown for months. But there's something even more interesting about this potential alliance. Solo isn't simply recruiting people who can fight. He's recruiting people who represent something different. Roman's bloodline has always been built around hierarchy, authority, loyalty, and acknowledgement. Solo's new faction could be built around the complete opposite. No tribal chief, no asking for permission, no bowing down, just power. And that's exactly what could make this dangerous for Roman. Because Roman Reigns has spent years controlling people through fear and respect. But what happens when the people standing across from him simply don't care about his authority? That's the question Paul Heyman would have to answer. Because if Solo walks into SmackDown with the MFTs behind him, the entire strategic situation changes. Roman can't simply send one person after Solo anymore. He can't assume that intimidation will end the rebellion. And he certainly can't afford to underestimate Haku's influence. Suddenly, every confrontation becomes unpredictable. Roman could be standing in the ring talking about his family, his legacy, and his position at the head of the table. Then Solo's music hits. Tama Tonga appears, Tanga Loa follows, and then Haku walks out. At that moment, the entire arena understands that something has changed. This isn't a reunion. This is a declaration. And if WWE actually takes the story in that direction, Roman Reigns would have one major problem. Who can he trust? That's been the central weakness of the bloodline from the beginning. Every time Roman believes he has complete control, someone eventually questions the system. The Usos did it. Solo did it. And now Jacob Fatu remains one of the most unpredictable pieces on the board. That's why this potential MFT alliance is so important. Because it could force every member of the bloodline to make a decision. Are you with Roman? Are you with Solo? Or are you finally choosing yourself? And Jacob Fatu could become the most important person in that equation. Think about it. Jacob doesn't need to immediately attack Roman. He doesn't even need to join Solo. His uncertainty alone could create a massive problem for the tribal chief. If Roman starts questioning whether Jacob is truly loyal, the bloodline becomes weaker before the first punch is even thrown. And that's exactly what Solo would want, because the strongest way to defeat Roman Reigns isn't necessarily to overpower him. It's to make him question everyone standing beside him. That's what makes this potential war so fascinating. Solo could be fighting Roman physically, while simultaneously attacking the foundation of Roman's leadership. And if Haku is truly behind him, Solo suddenly has someone capable of giving that rebellion even more credibility. Now let's look at the bigger picture. The Bloodline saga has always been about family. But this could become something much bigger. It could become a battle over who gets to define the future of the family. Roman represents the old order, Solo represents rebellion. Haku represents a legendary generation whose influence still carries enormous weight. And Jacob Fatu represents the future. Put all of those pieces together and you've got a storyline that could potentially carry WWE through the next major premium live events. Imagine Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. Then add Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa. Then Jacob Fatu enters the picture. And somewhere in the middle sits Haku, watching the entire situation unfold. That is no longer a normal bloodline storyline. That's a civil war. And if WWE builds it correctly, every major confrontation could change the balance of power. One week, Roman gains an advantage. The next week, Solo responds. Then Jacob makes an unexpected decision. Then another family member gets involved. And suddenly, nobody knows who will still be standing together when WrestleMania season arrives. But we need to keep one thing clear. Until WWE officially presents this alliance on television, the Haku and Solo connection should be treated as storyline speculation rather than confirmed fact. That's important, because wrestling plans can change, rumors can be exaggerated, and something that sounds inevitable today can look completely different once the cameras start rolling. But if WWE does choose to make this alliance official, Roman Reigns could be walking into the most dangerous bloodline conflict of his career. Solo Sikoa wouldn't just be asking for revenge, he'd be building an army. And Roman Reigns would have to decide whether his bloodline is still strong enough to survive it. So now I want to hear from you. If Haku officially welcomes Solo Sikoa into the MFTs, does Roman Reigns still have enough power to defeat them? Would you rather see Solo Sikoa face Roman Reigns one-on-one? Or do you want WWE to go all the way and create a massive bloodline civil war? And here's the biggest question of all. If Jacob Fatu is forced to choose between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, whose side do you think he chooses? Drop your prediction in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the Ringside Observer, turn on notifications, and stay locked in, because if this bloodline war begins, the next betrayal could change everything. When family goes to war, nobody stays innocent.